Hello, and I welcome you all to another e-content session. In this session, we will be looking at a continuous tense. As students of General English, you do know that various tense forms have been segregated and placed, periodically in the different semesters you'll be doing. So you are aware that you will be doing your General English papers in 4 different semesters. It is easier to learn tense forms in a much segregated manner than doing them in one single semester. Now, the continuous form of the tense is also an appropriate form like any other tense form. Now, we cannot say that any tense form is much more greater or bigger or important than any other. All the tense forms are important. So we could start with that basic question, why are tense forms important? You know that becoming proficient in a language requires vocabulary, lots and lots of them. But it's not just vocabulary that is necessary for a student to learn or attain himself the language abilities, language speaking abilities. Now, tense forms help you in a different dimension. That is, if you learn a lot of vocabulary, obviously you are not going to use only vocabularies when you speak. You have to put them into sentences. So when you put them into sentences, you obviously have to involve other parts of sentences, right? So the parts of speech of a sentence makes it imminent for a tense form, which is also part of the verb that we have to learn to make ourselves better in our language and become a proficient in a language. Now we can look at continuous tense and have an approach towards it in two manners. That is, one in a very practical manner and the other in a grammatical manner. So let us move forward and look at grammatical exercise for today. The whole lesson plan of this e-content video is focused on making you use continuous tense appropriately. So I have two objectives here. Like I told you, I'm going to teach you continuous tense in two forms. One, the grammatical aspect, and two, the practical aspect. Not all times we are looking at grammar to impose tense forms. There are times when we use tense forms to convey a particular meaning as well. Let me not try and confuse you, but then when we get to the point, you'll obviously get it. But the game plan of this e-content video is this. In order to give you an appropriate understanding of the continuous tense, I'm going to start with the difficult ones and answer the question, when do we use the continuous tense, so that when the slides move on, we'll be looking at the easy ones. So let us go forward and then look at and then the first question we'll be addressing to us, when do we use continuous tense? And in short, if at all you have to give a definition to continuous tense, the definition of continuous tense could go something like this: a event that has not ended. So I don't want you to think more about it, because the more you think, the more confusion you'll get. But then, which is also good, the more confusion you get, the more answers you'll be seeking. But for the sake of sticking to what we have taken at our hand in trying to teach and learn continuous tense, let us not try and extend the definition much more than this, right? So continuous tense, you could remember that the shortest definition is that an event that has not ended. Now we are going to look at the continuous tense in 8 different ways. When I say 8 different ways, I mean 8 different approaches. Remember, I told you around 1 minute back that I'm going to give you an approach that is grammatical and that is practical. So the grammatical standpoint is where we use continuous tense as a verb form, and the practical stance is where we use the tense form itself as a way to convey certain meaning, and that is the practical approach. Now, these two approaches can be further divided into 8 approaches, right? Maybe it is more talk, and let me get straight away to the point I'm trying to make here, so that you get to understand what I'm talking about. Like I did tell you, I'm going to start with the most difficult ones, but then now we are just looking at what or when can we use a continuous tense. So obviously, like the statement here tells you, it's a statement which is in progress, right? If at all you have to make a, you have to speak, or you have to denote, or you have to make a sentence about an event or an action which is still in progress at a given point of time, then you can, call it as a continuous tense. Now, a continuous tense has 3 types. It is, there is past continuous tense, there is present continuous tense, there is future continuous tense. Now, this is the actual definition of a continuous tense, but then it does not end there. And that is why we are looking at 8 different ways of looking at a continuous tense and not just one. The next point is that when an action is predicted to happen because of the events that had triggered it in the present or past, so that will make it a future continuous tense. Obviously, there might be days when you will have to talk about events that have been triggered in the past and then it is continuing still into the present, right? So at this point of time, at this point of definition, you could use them for the future continuous tense. The next approach is when we ask about a person's future plans in a polite manner to know if it fits in our plan. The next point is when we have to describe unfinished actions. When we have to describe temporary situations. When we have to describe temporary habits. When we have to describe annoying habits. Now, these are the 7 approaches. You could very well see that the first 2 points are very grammatical in nature and the other 5 points are very practical in nature. They tell you how meaning is made from these 5 points. These are still representative at the beginners level or at the UG level. I think this is enough for you to have an understanding. Now, this is how we are going to do about it. I'm going to give you a format now, and after we do the format, we are going to go looking at the points in reverse, so that we could have a practical approach to it, and then we could move on to the grammatical side of it, which is more or less like mathematics. If you see this, you do that, right? So we have seen this with tense forms. We know how to conjugate tense forms. We actually go for the verbs. Now let us look at a format. Before we start, you should know that a continuous tense is one of the tense forms which has a unique format. Now, in a normal case, let's say that you are, reading, or you are learning about the present tense form, the simple present tense form. You do know that, a tense form which has been ascribed to a verb in the simple tense form. It is easier for any student to make a sentence within less than 3 words, right? Sometimes you could even use 2 words, right? In 2 words, you could make up a sentence. But then the continuous tense form is not that kind of a tense form. So a continuous tense can be attributed to only a form which has a unique format. So the format is given here. I don't intend for you to be confusing yourself with this format. This is only for an holistic understanding. But the format comes to you only by practice. So when you practice, you don't have to remember this format, like I have been insisting from the last semester. So look at the format. You have the subject plus main verb plus action verb plus object. Now, what is a main verb? What is an action verb? By all means, you would have known, you would have been taught before what is a main verb and an action verb. But then let me repeat it once again to you. An action verb, like the name itself denotes, is any verb you could think about when I say verb. So run, walk, smile, talk, eat, drink, fall, rise, kick, beat, all of these words which denote an action, which tell you about an action, which is a word for an action, are all called action verb. But now, what is a main verb? Main verb are verbs which are, obviously, like the title itself suggests, is an actually a verb which is the main format of a verb. Sometimes you can give away on using action verb, but you can never leave out main verbs from the sentence. Sometimes you could use subject and action verb, right? But never can you make a sentence without the main verb. Now, what are the main verbs we know? We know a couple of main verbs, and the most important one is the be verbs. Yes, exactly, be verbs. Now, the be verb, when you say be verbs, in some of us, who are not yet oriented towards it, may not be able to recognize it. But then the be verbs, when conjugated with tense form, they become is, was, are, and were. So that is the be verbs. Now there are other be verbs. You have the do verbs, you have the have verbs, you have the modal auxiliaries like should, can, shall, and may, right? So these are all main verbs. Now you know the difference between a main verb and an action verb. So you could very well see that unlike many other tense forms, a continuous tense form will definitely come with two verbs. It needs to have one main verb, it needs to have one action verb. Only then, yeah, only then a sentence can actually form a continuous tense, and it qualifies to become a sentence which is employing the continuous tense. Now, you could never conjugate the main verb here, right? But then the action verb is conjugated with the word, with the phrase, or with the letters ing. So now you remember, you at least have two rules in formatting a sentence into a continuous tense form. It needs to have main verb and action verb, and the action verb needs to have an ing ending. So only when ing is added to an action verb, you can call it a continuous tense form, right? So when we look at the examples, I'm sure you will definitely come across it. And then obviously, the final part, the fourth part, could be the object. It is not always necessary that your sentence has an object, but then just for the sake of understanding, I'm letting you know here. Now let us look at an example. We are watching cricket on television. We are watching cricket on television. Now you could very well identify the various parts of this sentence. Now the we here is the subject. Which is the main verb? Yes, obviously. So the be verb are, right? R-A-R-E-R is the main verb here. Now the action verb here is watch. But this is a continuous tense. This is a sentence which employs continuous tense. So we are adding ing to the action verb watch. So if the subject is covered, main verb is covered, and action verb is covered, what are we doing with the list of the three words? Cricket on television. These three are all objects, and cricket is a separate object phrase, on is a separate object phrase, and television is a separate object phrase. You could see that why continuous tense is a very unique form. Now, instead of the subject we, you could also use any other pronoun or any noun. But there is a condition which follows the main verb. Though you might like to think about other main verbs in the English language, with regards to continuous tense forms, you can use only the be verbs, that is, was, are, and were. These are the only forms of be verbs you could use along with the continuous tense. Now we are going to look at the various approaches, the various appropriate ways of using continuous tense in our sentences. There are various word phrases which can be used along with the continuous tense, which become part of the sentence, which are so important that they give full meaning to these sentences. Now we are going to look at some of those words. I'm not going to describe the words to you, but then I'm going to give you the words as an extra information here. And the first set of words we'll be looking at is always, forever, and constantly. Now, whenever you use continuous tense, it's not necessary that you use these phrases, word phrases like always, forever, and constantly along with continuous tenses. But look at the approach we are having here now. We are right now talking about using the continuous tense to describe annoying habits, right? So when we have to do that, it would be better. The sentence you make would sound better if you can use these phrases. These are only representative examples. I have only given you examples here. I'm going to do the same for the other four, right? Other four approaches, other four practical approaches, other four meaningful approaches, right? So you could make use of them. Let us look at the first example, right? So you would want to describe in a sentence an annoying habit your friend has. So what is the annoying habit your friend has? You are always losing your keys. Now look at that. You could simply say you are losing your keys, right? But then that wouldn't make it, that would still be a meaningful sentence. But then, like I told you, we are looking at the approach here. We are not looking at just the grammatical side of it. We are looking at the approach here. So only when you add always, you could use effectively the continuous tense to describe that your friend is having an annoying habit. So what is the annoying habit your friend has? He is losing or she is losing her keys always, right? So you have to say you are always losing your keys. Let us look at one more example. Jack and Jill are always fighting. So if we have to say Jack and Jill are fighting, it would still be considered as a continuous tense. But then, like I told you, we are looking at annoying habits, right? So Jack and Jill are always fighting. Now, if you have to describe the annoying habits of people, it becomes necessary that you use word phrases like always, forever, and constantly, or words like always, forever, and constantly. Only then these continuous tense get themselves upgraded into describing certain specific events, certain specific meanings, right? And the meaning here is that they have an annoying habit, and the annoying habit about Jack and Jill is that they are always fighting. Let us look at one more example. She is constantly complaining about her sister, right? So I think now with that, you have a good understanding of the annoying habits and of Jack and Jill, and probably the way you could use continuous tense to describe somebody's annoying habits, right? And that is not the only way you could use the continuous tense. But then this is an probable example I could give. Next. Next, meaningful approach or practical approach we could have towards continuous tense is that you could use it to describe temporary habits. Now, like the words we used like always, constantly in the previous example, in this we use word phrases like at the moment and these days. So you should remember, even though if you employ continuous tense, only if you use these word phrases, for example, only then you could use them to describe temporary habits. Now, let us look at examples. I don't want to go a little more deeper into this because I have given you enough, time in the last slide. So, let us move forward very quickly. Look at the example here. He is eating a lot these days. Our neighbor was always telling us funny story about his daughter. She was always taking all my ideas. Now, these are ways in which you could use these phrases into a continuous tense, phrases like at the moment, these days, into describing temporary habits. One more example you could say is, I was forever worrying if I could make the team. Grandma was constantly singing songs when she made us breakfast. My husband was always talking about friends from school. Now you just saw that how you could use continuous tense and word phrases, certain word phrases, example word phrases to make use of and then you describe temporary habits. Now let us move on and then look at the next practical approach. You could also use continuous tense to describe temporary situations or interrupted situations. Now the phrases or word phrases we are going to make use of are at the moment, for a few weeks, for a couple of months. Look at the first example. It is the most simplest example I could ever find for you. I am living in London at the moment. Look at the next example. It makes sense to us. The stocks are dropping constantly due to the economy for a couple of months. I was having a great conversation with him when his girlfriend interrupted it. While we were playing, it started to rain. So you could look at this examples comprehensively and in a holistic manner and try and understand that how continuous tense makes us express our thoughts in a different manner, right? So I'm sure that you do understand that you cannot do the same thing probably the other tense forms, right? You can only do these things only with this tense form. So if you have to do these things, if you have to express these kind of ideas, I think you can do it only with the continuous tense. Look at one more example. I was having a terrifying dream when the alarm clock went off at 6 a.m. Now here we have not used any the word phrase that has been given in the top, but then still it qualifies to be a situation where where something has been interrupted. The sleep of the person who woke up after getting a terrifying dream. So there is a situation that was interrupted, and the situation is the sleep of the person. Next practical approach we could have towards continuous tense is that we can use continuous tense to describe unfinished actions. And of course, this was part of the earlier definition we gave in the beginning of the e-content video we have just now started. So unfinished actions are events that are in progress, events that have not ended, right? So you could call it in whatever way, but the best word to use is unfinished, right? Unfinished actions. So let us look at some examples, and before that we might be using a few of these phrases. Look at the first example. I was listening to music, so I didn't hear the phone ring. Now let me give you an exercise kind of a thing where I would want you to think about this. Now why is this sentence is listed under unfinished actions, right? Now what is an action, right? A verb expresses an action, right? So you do know that in the first part of the sentence, when you say I was listening to music, you could very much understand that the action is completed there, right? But then look at the possibility in the real world, right? Look at the possibility of this happening in the real world. We could say that while one action is being committed, there is another parallel action being done by you. One action is completed, but then the other action is not completed, right? Or the action which was not completed, the reason could be the action which you had completed, right? So maybe you're trying to maybe the last sentence I made was a bit confusing to you, but then look at the sentence once again. The person who's making this sentence was listening to music. Maybe he was having a headphone or she was having a headphone. So what happened? She did not hear the phone ring, right? Now the phone ringing is the unfinished action, right? Now when the phone rings, what do? You pick it up and then you answer to it, right? Now the phone ringing had not been answered. So you could use that to describe these unfinished action. right? So look at the possibility of using this sentence in the real world. Yes, we could, we have all possibilities of using continuous tense to describe unfinished actions in the real world. Let me give you one more example. I was going to spend the afternoon at the mall, but decided to stay home instead. So that's a wonderful, example of another unfinished action. Now, what is the unfinished action here? The person decided to go to the mall, but then he did not, right? So that is the unfinished action here. I am working at the moment, right? So look at that. Now there is a twist. There are no two phrases, right? In other examples given here, there are two phrases, right? I was listening to music is one phrase. I didn't hear the phone ring is another phrase, right? I was going to spend the afternoon at the mall is one phrase. I decided to stay home instead is another phrase, right? But then look at this sentence. I am working at the moment, right? So the person who was uttering the statement is continuing to work and the action is not completed. Maybe now the idea of describing unfinished actions through continuous tense is easy to you, right? Because we are coming up with very much practical examples. Look at the next example. Juliet is changing trains at the station now. Look at the next example. My daughter is playing football now. So whenever you use the word now with one of the verbs having the action verb having ing, it becomes an unfinished action and thus becoming a continuous tense. Look at yet another example. They are eating lunch right now. Shopping online is growing popularity nowadays. The next practical manner in which we could use a continuous tense is when we ask about a person's future plan in a polite manner to know if it fits in our plan. Now you will get to know why this is made as a practical way of uttering a sentence in a while when we look at the example. So there are phrases, which you could use along with the continuous tense to, give up this kind of a meaning. Let us look at the first example. Will you be speaking at the conference this evening? Now, you could ask the question, this is not a proper sentence, this is an interrogative sentence, right? This is not a declarative sentence, this is an interrogative sentence, meaning a question is being asked, but still there is continuous tense involved. How is continuous tense involved? You know that in an interrogative sentence, you are asking a question, so the verb comes to the front, right? Now, will is not part of what we are talking right now, right? It is just part of the interrogative sentence. But what concerns us is you be speaking, right? The person who's uttering the statement is asking another person, that is you, right? Be speaking, right? So the be is the main verb and speaking is the action verb, right? At the conference this evening, right? So look at that, and that is why we have given it as asking somebody's future plans in a polite manner, right? Now continuous tense along with it brings politeness. It is necessary, right? Politeness in the sense you don't have to be polite all the time. It does not seek you or it does not ask you to be polite all the time. It is just a way of telling people or asking people about what their plan is without intervening in their privacy, right? So can you really go and ask even your parents whether they're very busy, right? Even if it is your parents, you will have to ask whether they will be busy at a particular point of time, and then you give out your plans, right? So you cannot erase their plans and then put your plans and say, because the person uttering the sentence would be doing that, right? If at all the person is not making it as a question, right, it could very well be a statement. He'd be saying, this point of time, you and me are going to the mall. He could very well say that. But then instead of that, he's using the continuous tense to ask, will you be speaking at the conference this evening? So if the person says yes, the person asking the question will change the plan. and that is the politeness, right? So don't take politeness in any other manner, right? So he's being polite by asking the question first before making plans, right? So that is the way in which you could know a person's future plan in a polite manner. Let us look at one more example. I was wondering if you could walk the dog for me this evening. This is yet another perfect example, to understand the statement that is on the top, right? Asking about a person's future plan in a polite manner, right? Future plan in the sense it doesn't mean whether you are going to become IAS, IPS. No, that's not the future plan is, right? Because see, it is more or less like a person asking a favor from another person, right? And when the favor is being asked, the person who is asking for the favor wants to make sure that they are not interrupting their plan, right? The person who is going to do the favor, they should be free, right? And you cannot impose certain things on them. So that is why I use the example of your parents. Even though they are your parents, you don't erase their plans, the plans they have for the day, they have for the month, right? You ask them, on particular day, where are you going? Or if you are free, shall we go this place, right? So we do that. Even at a household level, we do that, right? So look at this sentence. This sentence is very much evident in telling you in a polite manner about the person's future plan. The future plan of the person uttering the sentence is that he wants his dog to be walked. Probably he could not go outside, he's sick or something. So how is he asking for the other person? He's asking help actually, right? So he's asking the other person about his plans for the evening. So how is he making the sentence? He's asking, I was wondering if you could walk the dog for me this evening, right? So he's asking in a very polite manner, உங்களால முடியுமா? Rain, is it possible, right? Something like that. So when you use the word wondering, it is more or less like asking, is it possible? Will it be possible for you? Look at another sentence. I am meeting my father tomorrow. Right? Now there is no politeness involved here, but then still it talks about future plans, right? So it means that you're telling somebody else that you are not free, right? Politely, right? I am meeting my father tomorrow. Right. Look at the next example. Was your daughter playing football yesterday? Right. Again, an interrogative sentence. Right. Yes. Look at another example. I'm going to take a shower. So take the keys when you go out. Right. Now, yes, this is the practical example we could have. Right. Otherwise the person who comes back later will be locked out. Like until the person who's taking a shower comes out, he will have to be stranded outside the house. So that's a polite way of telling, I'm going to take a shower. So take the keys when you go out. Look at the last example, right? Are you visiting your cousin this weekend? Another interrogative sentence. Now we are looking at the grammatical side of it. I did tell you that we are going in reverse, right? So we have two more grammar approaches towards continuous tenses. And the first one is when an action is predicted to happen because of the events that had triggered it in the past or present. So that makes it simply future continuous tense, right? So look at that example. Sarah is pregnant and she will be having a baby in few months. Now look at the event that had triggered the present event or the future event. Sarah is pregnant today, right? She is going to have a baby in the future, right? So this sentence is a future continuous tense, right? And this is the tricky part of finding out whether a sentence is past continuous or present continuous or future continuous. You're always going to have that problem, but then it comes by practice. Like I always tell you, practice makes permanence, right? So like the definition we have here, the grammar approach we have here, we are taking part in this grammatical exercise by giving this definition that when an action is predicted to happen because of the event that had triggered it in the present or past, right? So what is the present situation which had triggered in this example? Sarah is pregnant. What is the future event which is predicted to happen? Obviously if you're pregnant, if a woman is pregnant, she has to obviously give birth to the baby in the future, right? But the being pregnant is happening in the present, right? And then the sentence should be made in such a way that the continuation of the sentence is that the future also has to be talked about, right? So this is an information which is being given, so the sentence is made in such a manner that it conveys the necessary information. So the statement goes like this: Sarah is pregnant and she will be having a baby in a few months. Look at the next example: we are leaving for the beach tomorrow morning, right? So there is something that is going to happen in the future. Finally, we have come to the basic form of what a continuous tense is, right? Now, I'm not going to tell you that this is not difficult, but comparatively, we could easily make out past continuous, present continuous, and future continuous, right? So we have already looked at the definition, but let me read the definition once again to you. So the definition goes like this: the grammar approach, the grammatical approach goes like this: when an action is still in progress at a certain point of time in the past, present, or future, then you call it the continuous tense, or you could identify that to be a continuous tense. Look at the very simple examples. Francis was having dinner when Parker called him, right? So, what is the action that is still in progress? Francis was having dinner. He did not complete having dinner, or he did not think of having dinner, right? He's having his dinner. But at that point of time, what happens? Parker called him, right? Now, imagine any situation we are in where, see, or something like this. Your HOD gives you some work, or your course teacher gives you some work, right? So you're doing it. Another course teacher calls you and gives you another work, right? So the first work is incomplete, the second work is about to be started. So how in such a situation you will have to make a sentence saying that when you had this work, this work also had come, right? So look at the various possibilities of trying to make a continuous tense or an unfinished action, right? So look at that, we are talking about unfinished actions here. So in all possibilities in our life, many a times we would have to make sentences in the continuous tense form, and that is why we are learning it today with these many examples. Look at the next example. Laura is writing her life story, right? Look at that, it is continuous. Has she finished writing her story? No, right? Or does it say that she is about to start a story? No, right? But then Shilara is writing her life story. Look at the next example. Her story might be embarrassing for some of her friends, right? Okay, well, let us look at one more example. We were skating on the frozen snow this time last year. The baby was drinking from a bottle. So it does, give you a gist of how continuous tense works so far. Now, I'm going to give you a kind of a table which would give you more insight into looking for continuous form and then identifying a continuous form. Now, this is the table. Look at that. I'm going to share either the PPT with you or the just the table with you. You could somehow make use of it. I have selected a few common verbs we use, and then I have conjugated them into continuous forms. Now, why am I doing this? There is a reason behind me doing this. Now you could see that let us count the number of verbs: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There are 14 verbs, and then I have conjugated them into three different ways. So run in the past form is was running, present form is running, and in the future form will be running. Look at the last but the second word, right? Fall. Was falling, is falling, will be falling, right? So in one manner you could understand that if it is continuous tense, you need to use main verbs plus action verb, and the action verb comes with the conjugation of ing, right? So you have running, 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 right? So there is no contention in that. Whenever you have to employ continuous tense, you always use ing. But the only problem is with the main verb, right? The main verb is the one which denotes to time. So if it is the past, we say was running. If it is the present, we say is running. And if it is the future, we say will be running, right? Obviously, right? This is a no-brainer, right? Will be, when you say will be, you know that it is the future. Right. Now back to the reason of why I am showing you this verb form in the conjugated form. Right. Now there are words, uh, few of which we can never use the continuous form. Right. And that is the table we are going to look at in the next slide. Why we cannot use it is that let me give you a small story, right? A small story or a small, narrative, right? Now, who are the people who are, who kind of, founded or, who invented English language? It is the English people who live in United Kingdom, who live in England. So, any rules, any grammar rules, any meaning rules, any spelling rules should come from them, and we are not the ones who are supposed to make or employ different rules to the grammar rules of English language, right? Even with Tamil, we can redefine those grammar language, but then it needs to take a lot of effort. One or two of us doing it, it may not change the way we speak the language, right? But then hundreds and hundreds of us do it together, it becomes, it becomes a word in Tamil language. For example, in recently there is a lot many things have been going on in social media where the phrase "ayyo," right? The phrase "IO" had been added to the Oxford English Dictionary, right? Now, why is this a thing? Because "IO" is a common onomatopoeic expression in the South Indian languages, right? You take Malayalam and Tamil. I'm not very sure about Kannada and Telugu. When we say "IO," it means there is an expression of it's a multifaceted expression. It does not mean only sad, right? It could be an expression of pity. It could be an expression of forgetfulness, embarrassment. It could be an expression of even sadness, right? So this word from an onomatopoeic word from the South Indian language gets into the Oxford English Dictionary. Why does it get into the Oxford English Dictionary? Because many people who have been talking South Indian language and also English somehow made this word "IO," made this phrase "IO" into a popular one, right? Not just one person, many people, right? Many people made it into a popular thing, and then this "IO," the phrase has become popular, and then it has been added in Oxford English Dictionary. The same is with any language for that matter. When too many people use it, it might become a part of the language, but it is never okay to call it appropriate, right? Appropriate in the sense, let's say that there are words, verbs, right? Not words, verbs, right? verbs. There are verbs in English language which will not take the continuous form. Exactly, right. There are words, there are list of verbs in the English language which do not take the continuous form. Now, why they do not take continuous form? Because they are words which have a different expression than these action verbs, right? They are also action verbs, but then they're a different set of action verbs. And who defines this rule? The English people define these rules, and that is why I've been giving you this long story, right? So English people are the ones who decide that these words can take up or employ continuous forms like run, ask, call, eat, help, hit, jump, play, throw, fight, read, fall, wear, and cook. And there are other words also which could take up continuous form. But then now I'm going to show you verbs which do not take up. So you have the exemptions here, right? Now, whatever I have given here is wrong, right? Agree cannot become was agreeing, is agreeing, will be agreeing, right? I meant to give this table in red and the last table in blue, but then I forgot. I'm very sorry about that. Both the tables are in red, but then try and understand that these are wrong, right? Whatever I have given here, these are wrong. These words agree, promise, surprise, like, love, hate, hear, see, believe, know, understand, remember, taste, and smell cannot take up continuous form for a simple reason that you could try and know something, right? So I make a sentence, I'm trying to know this, right? You cannot say that I try to knowing this, right? I try to knowing, somebody else, right? You cannot say knowing, right? Now you do remember that Nizam Ezekiel, who wrote Night of the Scorpion. We did deal with that with that poem in the first semester. We did see that he uses such kind of terms deliberately to Indianize it, right? Now, why am I telling you? We people normally try and use continuous tense to these words also, right? These verbs, all right. So there are verbs in the English language which do not take the continuous form. So these are the words which have their own exemption, right?